I sold about 350,000 downloads of that product, majority pirated, but still, it was a $30 product, my most selling product, and that, allowed me to bootstrap all my companies. And then I have millions of views on YouTube. I have one video with like 3 million views and stuff. I mean, it's fine, it's a good number, but I also have 70,000 followers when I was a kid, making YouTube videos for fun, raised investment rounds in multiple companies, and then bootstrapped my ventures, and I'm speaking through experience. Cool. Jumping in. So let me give you a brief of Motion Miracles and some of the stuff I've built, so that you get a bit of an overview as to like where I'm speaking from, I guess. So this is one of our portfolio projects. I'll quickly just show you. It's like a winter game thingy. Trailer. Yeah, it's basically Santa's elves have revolted. Santa's elves was enslaved for long enough, and they started running away with his presents. I mean, you never question these things, right? It's like, why? Okay, so this is the game. Right, very inspired by Crossy Roads and stuff. But the main thing here, I'll explain further down in the presentation, what was so important about this project, even though we didn't make anything out of this in terms of cash, but we did get extremely valuable partners. And I will go into depth on those topics as we go through this presentation. So we work with Voodoo Games. That's the largest mobile game distributor in the world. They are a $1 billion company. They capture 20% of the market share in mobile gaming. And they've actually given us their team lead for publishing. The guy who published the most hit games in 2019. So that's pretty big, right? Roller Splat and all those big games. We're working directly with the guy who helped create those games because of this project we just worked on, right? And that's huge, right? And these types of deals, when you work with publishers, are multi-million-dollar deals. So we've built about now 30 games with them, and I think we're really close to getting one published. So in the next month or two, maybe less. So some other stuff I built. I'm not just in game development. I have multiple companies. Each one has raised investment, and this is another company that I'm working on in New York. So just to show just a bit of diversity in what I do. So this is a vlogging app I'm working on, because one of the bottlenecks in the studios is making vlogs, and everyone's so lazy. So I was like, let's build a vlogging app. Yeah, it's fun. It's like fun and games. That's really how innovation works these days, right? Slack. How you guys use Slack? How many know Slack was made by a game company, a game development company? You guys all know that? So literally they were like, this is so annoying. We have to email each other and all this stuff, and then they create Slack. And then they become a $1 billion company after, right? So that's really something we follow in the studio as well. Small bottlenecks and stuff. We just take it, become creative with it, and something might pop out of it. A lot of concepts, but let's just dive into the presentation and stuff. I think I'm blabbering on. I did make the presentation like half an hour. I shouldn't have done that. But anyway, so this is the video with 3 million views, right? Blah blah blah. And then this is one of the products that made my money, so I can bootstrap the company and everything. So this was it is kind of big in the community. I had about 20,000 followers for my projects and stuff, and then I grew from there and started the company and stuff. I don't think that this is relevant for today's presentation, but we can talk about it if you're interested in the questions. Cool, let's get to know you. All right, we're starting now. Great. So I need to get a feel for where everyone wants to go, so I can curate this presentation. Because no one wants to hear, blabbering. They want to sort of see the relevance in their lives, right? I think talks are very difficult because you can't really, curate the action items after. So let's get to know some of you guys. Like, how many of you, what type of dream projects would you like to work on? How many of you would like to work on projects like GTA 5? Raise of hands. Awesome. We have GTA 5. How about Witcher? GTA 5. Witcher, okay, Witcher. How about you, sir? What type of big dream project would you like to work on? Like a project, like... Call of Duty. Awesome. And how about you? Like your own engine or your own community sort of thing?
Most likely.
Sweet, nice. Do you have any idea how to do that?
Yeah.
Discussing? What do you think, what's some of the struggles you have at the moment for this?
Finding most valuable talents.
Valuable talents. Okay, sweet. How many of you want to start a project and you have that issue? Talent and resources, let's say. Who wants to start projects? Okay, sweet. Talent and resources. Who wants to start like this big dream project but they can't because of talent and resources? There we go. I mean, everyone wants to kind of hear this. How about you? Talent and resources? Like, what do you want to build? You're still learning or still learning? Okay, cool. I just want to get a feel for everyone so I can curate this, like I said. So, this is where we're at, right? We are in a little country and it's just burning and there's like literally, how do we even survive here, you know? Like, I've sort of had to deal with a ton of crap here in terms of dealing with investors and all this stuff, and it's literally just like really bad. But I think it's really important that we stick together as a community, and some of these things will sort of become a little less painful. So we're going to start with building our sort of value proposition. So let's think about this for a second. So I was explaining a little bit about me and how I was sort of developing, and I started with my initial sort of value proposition, right? Something tangible. I think that's the main thing that we have to get out here. So like tangible projects that really showcase, you know, oh crap, this guy has something, right? You just literally like smack bang, this is what it is. If you're like saying, oh, I can do this, I can do that, that does not translate into something tangible that other people can recognize and speak to and understand and work with you on. So that's what I find is really lacking in the communities right now. I mean, we have tons of, you know, people applying to the studio, and we get to see a little bit of the sort of the environment. And people tend to talk a lot without doing these tangible projects, right? So, you know, so let's focus on a little bit of these value propositions. So, for example, let's think about your community thing here. So you said finding people, right, at the moment. So what is your initial value proposition to people that you want to train and get into your teams and stuff? Like, what do you think it is? Okay. So how would you sort of curate yourself to make them what do you say, loyal to you? Right. So, but it's like, you know, when you find someone who's really talented, you need to present this package to them, right? It's like, look, this is what I'm building, and this is my little package, and they want in on it, right? So what is that package, right? Have you thought deeply about, like, what can I do that will make people literally stick on to me, right? See, when I was building the company, I'll talk a bit about that, right? My initial value proposition was the fact that I had 70,000 followers, a couple million views, had tons of money in the bank, and then I could just be like, look, I'm going to offer you these resources and all these things to join the company, and you're going to be under someone who's built something already, right? So what I'm trying to say is, what can be your initial value proposition? It doesn't have to be as crazy as what I was saying just now, but it can be something small, like a Discord community with like 200 people or something like that. Have you thought about it any much?
Yeah, yes, you know, friend of mine. The main reason I've chosen to have a social platform for encouraging people is to have a great community. So in order to make the awareness on how to get the crowd on these platforms. So main thing is I actually go through with my friends actually, and then after through referrals from there, I'm going to achieve that target within like 2-3 years.
Okay. I mean, we'll talk about strategy and stuff a little further down. I think, how about you? You have some dream projects you wanted to pursue, and sort of, do you have any sort of tangible things you've been working on to get yourself on track and stuff?
I tend to work on a couple different things here and there. Lately, it's been less focused on game development, but if I were to get into the game space, it's just nice to have that one or two core people to work with. Kind of around that.
So then, has it been troublesome to sort of get those one or two people to come by and sort of work on projects together?
It can be, depending on people's time commitments and other work they have to do and all that.
Okay, right. I guess it's challenging to figure out, like, I guess where everyone's at and sort of see. I think an example I can do is like how Notch sort of started Minecraft and stuff, right, in his basement. And then as the game got traction in alpha, people just started plugging in, right? I guess the hard part is the initial, traction that you need to generate in your projects. And like just like you start the Discord community or something that has 100 people, and something unique in that sort of value proposition, right? And people will just start being like, oh, this guy's doing something cool, let me hop in there. Same goes for, I guess, your projects. You build something cool, people are like more and more drawn to it because it's sort of your art is being translated to them, right? It's like it's now tangible. So yeah, I think we can move on. So I'll just give a couple of examples of what I was trying to talk about in terms of value propositions, MVPs, and da-da-da. Because this is what sort of builds your monetary value in the market as well. So let's go ahead and click on this. So this is my first attempt at making a 2D animation, or one of my first attempts. It's this little sort of cogs inspired animations. Right, and so this is technically like an MVP, like MVPs are like minimum viable products, which means what's the closest thing you can do to have something of value to people. So that has some value, right? You can outsource that, you can do services, you can maybe do some designs with it for a game or whatever, but it's tangible and it's in your portfolio and stuff, right? So then let's go to cogs here. So they make animations. How many of you know cogs? These, no? Okay. Let me find one of their videos real quick. So they make these really, that's not one of the animations. Check, okay. Well, they make these really cool infographics and stuff for, information and stuff. So they have 12,000 patrons, right? And their art style, you can see where the art style started. It's really, very basic. But see, that's the thing. It's like their MVP was out there, and they're starting to generate these little sort of, these little pockets of value in what they're doing. And little by little, they were able to sort of secure, 12,000 patrons. So that's what I mean. I just created an animation very similar to that. And I could easily start providing value with this MVP that I just built. I don't need to go into some insane training thing or whatever. I can just start building a community or whatever it is. Building a community or working with services, clients, whatever it is. Working with cogs, it's a hard name. But hey, are you guys getting the picture I'm trying to paint here? I feel like there's a slight disconnect on this. Yeah, I guess I'm trying to sort of connect back here, but okay. All right, and then you repeat it, right? You do more and more MVPs, right? How do I provide more and more value to whoever? I think if I speak through example a little right now, it might help. So when we were in the market for Motion Miracles, we built that game, right? Wacky Winter, the winter game. That was technically like our MVP, but we were repeating on other games. We were trying out other games, other things, subtitles. And then we got to this MVP, right? And then that sort of gathered the international recognition we needed to work with the company we're working with right now. Yeah, so you keep doing it. Nothing much to say about that, but yeah, I think I think that's important. So now we're going to dive into some things about training and training yourself, right? How many of you guys, like, what do you guys do to sort of get familiar with the industry? Like, what do you guys do right now for training? YouTube videos? Is it? Okay, let's see. I'm going to pick on someone. How about you over there? How do you learn? Yeah, but how do you learn that stuff? Like, what do you do?
First, I learn myself.
Okay. Okay. What are some of the tactics you use to learn?
Sometimes I can't. I can develop, but I'm not good at environment design like level design. I did something from my friends.
Okay, cool. All right, interesting. Okay. I'd like to maybe talk a little bit about how we train people also. So in Sri Lanka, one of the biggest challenges is finding talent and stuff, right? Talent, everyone has the talent within them. But some of the things we do to sort of train people to be industry ready is sort of this procedure of copying, exercising, and challenges. It's pretty straightforward. We would give these sort of curated modules where we sort of tell them, like, see, for example, there's an online YouTube video of you can build helix jump in 4 hours. Have you guys heard of helix jump? Yes, great. So there's a tutorial that's 4 hours long where anyone can follow that. Even an artist can follow this tutorial for 4 hours and build helix jump, which is a multi-million-dollar game. Right? Pretty cool that you can build a multi-million-dollar game in 4 hours without any experience. Right? So we make them copy that. That's their intro to the industry, right? So we get them trained up there. And then we do the exercises, which is the fundamentals, right? So we give them some little tools, little things, little ideas, and then we sort of, in that stage of exercise, we train them how to learn, so how to go on the Unity, APIs and whatever, and sort of understand the documentation, and how to sort of use that creative brain. And then we go into challenges, give them little tasks, little things to do. So I'll give you more examples from the studio. Our latest onboarder, our latest recruit, Vidura, he was working with us for 2 months before joining the studio. We were training him for 2 months, right, with this technique. And I would love to show you what he built. Maybe I can show you what he built, but I wish I had my computer. I would show you more stuff, but with this sort of pipeline in mind, you can train yourself to do anything, right? You sort of copy, you then do the exercises, and then you do the challenges. I wish I could go more into depth, but this is sort of more of a overview style thing. I mean, are you guys getting this? Is it sort of tangible for you guys? Like, maybe let's break something down here. Who wants to get better at say, okay, maybe a good example is, let's think, who's an artist here who doesn't know game dev? Or is everyone in game dev and programming? You're an artist? No game dev? No programming? Sweet. So then, what we would do with you, if you were onboarding to our game development team, a lot of artists apply to our studio, and they're like, we want to get into game dev. I'm like, have you built a game before, right? And they're all like, no, we haven't. And then we sort of give them these training guidelines, right? We say, go build helix jump. Now go build roller splat. Now here's a sort of a course we've curated with fundamentals, like brackeys and all this stuff. And then we assign them a little project to do. We're like, now go make one of our game ideas. We even have modules that we sort of, we film people at office, and we pretend to be the artist in the office, and we do a role-playing sort of training. So we're literally filming, and I'm like, yo, Binur, what do you need from me for you to build a game idea together? And then Binur gives the examples. This is a YouTube video we have. And then the artist will submit his work for the game idea, and this is actually sort of a real thing. Like, we've That's what we do in the studio. And that little by little trains the mind to be like, oh, so those are the processes within the studio. And it's like literally when they onboard, when the artist onboards, it's like they already like almost experience the whole thing, right? The whole pipeline. We build sometimes, I think once, in a month we made 12, maybe 15 game prototypes. And that's an intense pipeline, right? We have $1,000 a day budget on marketing our games and testing the prototypes, seeing if it will work in the market. We look for conversion tests, CTR, all these things, right? And an artist needs to know all those things: marketing, how to make the videos, how to program the game, how to be a sort of a technical artist, right? Because this is a very intense pipeline. So that's how we train. Hopefully you can take some inspiration from that. I'm really just speaking out, and hopefully, you guys are getting some stuff out of this. Okay, I think trust the training and research. It's kind of self-explanatory. But the main thing is you guys are training. I think that's what's really lacking here, is just self-training, understanding self-training. So universities don't really do justice. I think some of the universities who have interactive media courses at the end of the year, at the end of the graduation, none of them have built games. And I'm like, what the hell? So, go on YouTube. YouTube, when you search on YouTube, you guys know this stuff, right? You search on YouTube how to make games, you will only find the top-rated stuff out there. In universities, you can't search and get the top-rated stuff. You get what you have. You get lecturers and stuff that think they know the industry, right? And they don't curate from the industry, right? When we do our training, we curate from the top. We curate from mobile gaming as a whole, and then we're like, here is how you become industry ready. So how do you create that knowledge? You need to be doing a ton of research, ton of work on yourself. I don't know how to be, more specific, because this is sort of an overview, more of a general conversation about this stuff. Are you guys getting value out of this? Much? Is there any things you want to dive deeper into? Maybe you have anything, or did you get the training stuff? I would, maybe if I can log into our intranet, I can show you more of our pipelines. But the next thing is I think one of the most crucial things in Sri Lanka, I can't exaggerate it more, is being creative with your bottlenecks. This is what will set you apart from the international world, and being in Sri Lanka with all these bottlenecks, right? See, in Motion Miracles, we've sort of embraced these bottlenecks of not having talent to work with, in the sense not trained people. Another bottleneck is culture. Like, there's no such thing as ownership-driven culture here in the job ecosystem. So it's like, give me your requirements, and then I'll do anything. Like, I've had interviews where everyone's like, give me anything, I'll do it, right? And I'm like, okay, go build a game. This guy's not built a game before, and he can't build a game because there's no such thing as, give me anything and I'll do it, right? But what I'm trying to say is like, the bottlenecks, you need to sort of work with it, right? So, see, I'll give you another example of bottleneck we sort of got out, right? So the production pipeline in our studio is extremely vigorous, so we needed this ownership-driven culture. So ownership means like, you're literally, you own that project. So if it fails, it's your fault. Well, if the company fails, it's my fault. But if the project fails, it's your fault. That's ownership. So that means they have full ownership to take whatever they want from the project, change it, do whatever. If I tell them, build one of my games now, please, they'll literally swear at me and be like, Anish, get lost. I don't want to build your games. Your games suck. So it's basically, how did we train that, That bottleneck we had was just the mindset. So we were creative. We were like, literally like, okay, let's create these modules. I have over 100, now it's over, 300 training videos for my teams. For the hyper-casual pipeline, the simplistic games pipeline, we have over 70, right? Just so that we can get that bottleneck out of the way here, right? So that I can't stress this enough. And to have that creative mind, I don't know where it comes from. I can go deeper into it actually, but it comes from training and doing those exercises I told you. Copy things, you then work on your fundamentals, and then you give yourself challenges. Over and over again, different industries, not just what you're familiar with, not just programming. You go into art, you go into programming, You're going to e-commerce, what the hell it is. Like, see, I also have an e-commerce thing. And who knew e-commerce was amazing when it came down to building video games, because the video games need to be clear, and e-commerce is all about clarity in your products, right? So hyper-casual games, same thing. You need to be extremely clear with your mechanics, right? So I'm stressing the fact you need to be generalized in what you're doing. Like, forget specializing. That's what everyone says when they want you to enter the corporate world and be like, I'm going to give you the specific task of making 500 versions of the God of War character. I can't even imagine. He might have enjoyed it, but he was not there directing the project, right? Or whatever it is. So I'm saying in ownership-driven cultures, you need to sort of, like, which is what we have here as a community. We don't have big companies we can work at. We need to be ownership-driven so that we can sort of strive forward and be different and sort of overcome these bottlenecks. There's a lot of stuff, dense stuff, but hopefully it sticks in your subconscious and you can work on it, you know? And just always ask questions. I think in the questions place we can go into that. So I'll talk a little bit more about our bottlenecks that we solved. So let me move closer without the mic. Okay. So over here, you can see some of the issues we had in our services teams was the fact that budgeting was really annoying. Like, we have an ownership-driven team, so that means like these guys are fully bottlenecked on time. So what I did was I built out these systems on, it's a tool called Notion. You can calculate work hours and all this stuff super seamlessly, and it outputs the profit margins and everything like that very seamlessly. And I also built pipelines that allow you to manage multiple projects super easily as well. So sprint-based projects, you know, so that time can be managed better in the studio. And these systems don't exist anywhere else. I've checked all over the forums and whatever. But this is sort of systems we curated just for our teams, right? Because we were having bottlenecks. And then this is our training modules and stuff. So you can see this is like very in-depth stuff, right? So that's one of the guys we're training at the moment. He's going to be handling our community management stuff. So one of the things we did with him as training is to build a game, build an animation, right? Never built games before, never done animating before, but he needed to be able to empathize with the team, right? To do this ownership-driven thing, he needs to be able to empathize and be generalized and sort of get these things. So some of the people, you know, take 2 months, 3 months to get into the studio because can't find pre-made talent here. So then other things we did to remove some of the bottlenecks, vision boards. I mean, you know, these are sort of industry norms, but people tend to forget to do it. But you know, so I think it's good enough. I think we're going over time a little bit also. But okay, last slides. To-dos. So I think these are very abstract concepts maybe for a lot of you, but I think one of the crucial things we do really well and why we were identified by Voodoo, I don't think I mentioned this, Voodoo Games, the biggest mobile game distributor, right? They told us that they've worked with hundreds of studios all over the world. They've told us that they've never worked with a studio that has improved as fast as us. And they have actually, out of all the hundreds of studios, they are doing an exclusive deal with us that has never been done with any studio around the world. And we're all under 24, or whatever it is, don't have industry experience. And that's what we were able to accomplish in just like 4 or 5 months of working with them. An exclusive deal, and consider these are like, you know, publishing agreements are multi-million-dollar deals, and now they're doing some exclusive deals where they're not allowing us to work with other publishers. They're basically buying the team for a bit. So yeah, very big opportunity for us and also my management. So yeah, so anyway, one of the main concepts here that I really work with inside my studio is your work is with yourself, and your work with games and stuff is your hobby. The work is with yourself, and whatever company stuff is secondary, right? How many of you guys get that, right? I think that's a very sort of contradictory thing, and it's not very obvious too, but I want you guys to get this down, because this is what will make Sri Lanka great, is if you get this mindset in our heads. That's what the US does, or whatever these big companies they do, is they focus on themselves and they become this monstrous growing thing all the time, right? So if you put a seed in the ground and you water it, it'll become a tree. If you put a seed in the ground and you yell at it, it will never grow. Kind of simple, right? If you yell at it and you say, grow faster, it's not going to grow faster. But if you look at the environment around it, you're like, oh, this type of tree needs this type of water, this type of thing. It'll grow faster and bigger and better and whatever. Maybe in the future there's biohacks and you can put this like metallic things to make it grow bigger, and you can pretend it's not, pretend it's happy and all. Right? This analogy is getting out of hand. But you get what I'm saying, right? Work on yourself. So what does work on yourself mean? It means getting your EQ up, your IQ up, understanding, research. This is like it's like a crash course in life, but I hopefully you can go back with something. So one of the biggest resources we use in the company is this. We use School of Life. It's all about building your emotional intelligence, right? Because in Sri Lanka, unfortunately, we're kind of lacking it, because that's not sort of, being the norm, to allow people to be emotionally intelligent here. It's like, getting your third-person view of your mind is not a norm, but these types of videos allow us to be self-aware. So we have training modules on this. Like, wow, a company that's teaching emotional intelligence to their employees. Wow. All right, and then we also have videos like this, which is all about investment rounds. Investment rounds, MVPs, right? We had to pull information from all over the place to create these high-performance teams, right? So we curate these types of videos, and I'm sort of curating most of them. But like this video, this is the creator of Twitch. You guys know Twitch, right? This guy, Y Combinator, Michael Seibel. So, shall I give you more context? The dude, when he was starting Twitch, it took him 5 years or something. It was called Justin TV, and then he failed like miserably half the time at understanding MVPs and proposals and all this stuff. So then he started building, his knowledge base, his failures and all this stuff, and he created this amazing package which ended up being Twitch. You can get the full story on his videos. I'm expecting you guys to watch it, right? Because this stuff is extremely bad. MVP, understanding that you will become powerhouses in your industry. If you understand MVPs, you become powerhouses. I'll give you an example. When we work on games, right, I told you, we make tons of MVPs, tons of prototypes, 12 to 15 a month sometimes, So that's just a bit of context of understanding MVPs, because that allows us to test, see if it brings value to the market, right? So don't go and try something radical or something, It could work as well. There's nothing doing like that. You can do something big, and then you're gaining your skills so fast because you're doing something big and you're struggling and all this stuff. You can learn a ton of things doing that, and then maybe an opportunity comes halfway through it and you take it. But if you don't, build these small projects, small MVPs, it might be tough. I mean, there's different ways of doing it. But okay. Are you guys enjoying this? Are you guys understanding some of the concepts? Okay, hopefully. I will just speak and hopefully stuff happens. Then rigorously trust the process, compound creativity. See, like our intranet and stuff that we were building started terribly, started horribly. Our entire company, we were working on a game for a year and it never got launched. Oh my god, the stupid stuff we used to do. So what I mean by compounding creativity is like we do these little micro movements, and it just adds up to this big thing, right? Our training stuff is like, it started off with just sending emails and messages, and then it became dashboards, and then it became dashboards with chats, then it became dashboards with chats and video interviews, and then after, you can call me on that, all this stuff, right? Okay, lead by example. So I think that's a crucial one if you guys are trying to be leaders in your industry. I highly recommend watching School of Life. Help me understand my employees, right? Because honestly, the times I fired some people, if I had watched some of these videos, I could have saved them in terms of, because their trajectory wasn't on the right path, and I was like, your trajectory is not on the right path, and I they got offended, they left the company, I more like fired them, but if I understood that, I would be an emotional leader and understand that they were just scarred by their parents or something. Kind of funny, we have in our company we talk about parental issues, parents issues, girlfriend issues, all this stuff. Right? That's part of being a high performance team. I'll give you one more example of high performance. It's very important we get this down in Sri Lanka. We all think we should be robots here. We shouldn't. So I'll give you one more example. Tennis players and sportsmen at the highest level, boxers, everything you name it, at the highest level, you'll see very common traits. One being, the first thing they say after like a big tennis match that they win, and the biggest tournament ever, after winning 20 Grand Slams, whatever, Federer, right? Oh, I felt good today. Right? That's always the first thing they say. I felt good, I felt my strokes, I felt my legs, I didn't feel my injuries, I didn't feel. Right? Here it's like, attack, judge, attack, not I feel. They're very introspectives. They're doing introspectives to create that high performance, because if you're always looking outside, you're not going to look inside and feel how you feel, and you're not going to be able to push yourself further and further because you're always looking outside. That's what I find is really annoying here. And I don't get annoyed, I'm just annoyed at the fact that you guys deserve better. You don't deserve companies and leaders that do that. That's why I said, lead by example. So feel. I literally always say when I'm speaking to my team, how do you feel right now? Can we figure something out to the feeling you have? And then it's like, oh, now we can work on you, because you're not looking anywhere else other than yourself. Now we can work on you. And little by little, all these bottlenecks within them also disappear. So they just plow through. We have programmers who literally, because we talked about their parent issues and all this other stuff, they're so free. Now we have a piano at office, we have guitars, and this guy is a programmer who's never done art, anything creative, and he's literally doing piano, guitar, art. He's doing these insane drawings now because just alleviated all these tensions, right? And now they have the ability to perform, just like these high performance athletes. And the second thing the athletes will say after saying I felt good is, I'd like to thank my team. Even though tennis is a solo sport, it's very team-based. It's like perspective, strategy, and all these things that come in, right? Like Federer, all these guys, they're like literally like, I like to thank my team, Max. Can't do it without them, right? Whenever his stroke is getting off, his coach who's seeing him from a third-person view will be like, oh, you need to just bring that up a little, and they nurture the player. They don't tell him what to do. They don't say, go do that, go do training, don't tell me what it is, go numb yourself, go do it. That's what happens here in the corporate world, but that will never be high performance, never. And who cares about high performance? It's like, just work on yourself, it'll become high performance. If you call it high performance, you're already looking outside. Yeah. Hopefully that's making sense. You don't get this stuff anywhere else, right? It's part of the bottlenecks I had to face here in Sri Lanka to understand what's happening. Why is it so different to the US? Why is the US like all about talking about your problems and all this stuff, and then they are doing all this insane stuff. I don't know if I can swear, I can probably swear. But all this insane stuff, and here we're trying so much harder, but we're not getting it. So yeah, that's my understanding, and it's working. Like, I can show you tangibly that it is working. Okay, I think, is this valuable information to you guys? I know it's a bit high level, as in management, like that's where I'm at also. I'm a bit more on managing teams and stuff. But, further down the line, understanding that this is sort of what you need to, get as managers coming to you with, it's comfort, knowing that you'll be valued as a human being by your managers. And you should also hold your managers accountable to that if you are being managed. And that's a very tough thing to do. So watch School of Life stuff, it'll help. I think the final concept I want you guys to understand really well is building your hackability. And what I mean by that is this is what will define your difference in the industry and just becoming a powerhouse. So here's the thing with hackability, right? The reason why I guess, I have multiple companies purely because I can bring all those experiences down to one thing. When I go into, say, a new industry, hyper-casual games, to indie games, or whatever it is, I pull from multiple industries. I pull from surveillance technology to blockchain technology. So I've then e-commerce to vlogging and video apps to whatever it is. I can bring that all into one topic and say, even I pull from nature, I say plant a seed and all this stuff, right? That's hackability because you're hacking concepts together. That's innovation. You know, a blind man who will never dream color, will never dream visuals. We only act from the perspectives we have, right? New thoughts come when we have large perspectives and the brain dreams and does this whole, trying out different things because that's our survival. You know, how we survive is by fear and all these things. Because the brain is literally like, there's all these things like, oh my gosh, this is all happening. So let's figure out scenarios so that we can protect ourselves later, and that's why we dream. So hackability, how to create hackability is by learning multiple things, right? I told you guys, programming, art, all this stuff, and that's how you can create a new concept. Look at some of these games that have innovated to the, right to the top. It's done by people who understand hackability. They're generalized people who understand different industries and can put stuff together and literally create something new. Everyone who's specialized, no, can't. You don't have the perspective. You, like a blind man, you can't dream color. You can't create a new color, right? So, but if you mix colors together, you create new colors, right? Well, new, not really new, but you get what I'm saying. Does that make sense? Do you guys have some action items? Are you thinking about what you want to do next? Like different, maybe? In your work and stuff? Anyone want to talk about what they would do differently? You want to talk a little bit about what you might do differently? Yeah? Maybe just take the mic if you want. Sorry? Okay, yeah. You want to then... Okay,
It's this
maybe here you go.
Perfect. Yeah, I actually come from this science background, and what do you think about? I'm not sure about Sri Lanka, but at the US, 3D programming and graphic design. What do you think about developing medical tools, drug development tools for the medical industry and in the science field? And how's your company working on that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, like I was mentioning earlier, if you just bring knowledge from multiple industries, the cool thing with multiple companies, the surveillance tech company I'm working on plus the game company can work together on medical tech. We're already looking at some robotics technologies and whatever, and the experience inside my studio will literally plug together and create UX from the app we're working on to whatever it is. I guess we are working on solutions, not medical per se yet. I think that we require a bigger budget, but yeah, I mean, it's cool that you said you have a science background, getting into games and stuff. A lot of these stories start like that. It's like, oh, I was a painter and then I became a 3D artist. I was a carpenter and now I build these Apple products or something. A lot of these stories start out with completely random things. So if you make it less random and you work on just widening your skills, it's like now you're almost trained for this randomness. It's like you set yourself up for success. I don't know how to answer the other part of your question, which is like, how are we working on it? I mean, we work on it by, our artists are always getting modules and training guides for understanding programming. And it's like, and every time we see that there's a sequence of steps, right, to break the mindset. It's like, they're always like, Anish, I love art. I don't want to get into game development. I'm like, you don't know what you want, because the first thing you pick up when you want to draw something is a pencil, and you can draw and you can see the immediate outcome. If you make programming the pencil, I mean, then decide if you don't like to draw, right? So what I try and do is make the program a pencil to someone, and then I let them decide. Do you want to do game dev or art, and I mean only just art in the game dev team, or do you want to do programming as well? And 100%, all of them, like, I want to now be a game dev. So yeah, I mean, I'm rambling a bit on that stuff. I mean, are we okay? Am I killing all your game development time? Hopefully this is bringing value, but yeah, I think I want to get into some, I want to hear like what action items you guys have taking away from this, because this is how I would learn to help you guys, See, like some of the things I want to launch is actually these free boot camps for you guys. Completely free boot camps, and then also funding after. So that's the thing. It's like you guys aren't industry ready. I was not industry ready as well. I'm maybe still not industry ready, but the boot camps will make you guys powerhouses. And then once you are the powerhouses, you trust your training, you get funding, you just go, and you get your mentorship, all this stuff. So I need to hear what you take away from it. I don't need to hear, but it would be great because it's what would. Yeah, it will help a lot because we're right now in the process of building these boot camps. We've already been prototyping it, MVPs. We have about 20 people on the prototypes of the boot camps, and that's going to turn into academy. So, anyway, any takeaways that you guys want to talk about, just a little bit, so that I can better curate these talks. Like, what would you change? Maybe you want to explain. I might put you on the spot, but do you have some things you feel like you're going to change in your lifestyle? Or? Information flow. I like it. It's like we're stunted, right? We're all stunted because see, the world is so scary. Everyone's struggling, everyone's looking up, and we don't have perspective into the industry. It's like we look at God of War and it looks so perfect. How many of you watched the documentary of God of War? How they created it? Everyone? Yeah? And then you just realize it's just a bunch of crying, moaning, human interactions. And we are sitting here like, looking at it like this, and they're like, how the hell did we do this, right? How do we get the information? How do we get the information? That's why I was saying, just go to these channels, these YouTube channels, watch it. Watch, live, breathe, sleep these videos, and you almost create something in your mind that's imaginary of this, what it might look like in their studios. And how they struggle is the best thing you can do, because now you're building this huge framework of understanding all these different studios. Supercell, that's what inspired me to understand and just solidify my company structure, which was, Supercell, creators of Clash of Clans. They reversed the hierarchy of their company. Teams lead it, CEO is only doing recruiting, that's it. I mean, he could technically train someone to recruit for him, and he's literally a CEO who's doing nothing except helping kill games. And they're a $1 billion company, right? So what I'm trying to say is build your perspective. So to answer to get a takeaway there, just keep watching, watching documentaries, talks of these guys talking about stuff, GDC. You will get a feel. You'll get a feel of that, and you'll become better than what they've created. Better. Like, I've seen the problems. Like, the documentary with God of War is like all these guys are specialized, not understood how direction works and all this stuff, and it's like, oh, but Supercell does it like this. Now let's combine the two. God of War guys, Santa Monica Studios, and Supercell, and we'll create a new studio. That's what we can do. That's the only thing we can do if we're stuck physically here. We can't talk to these guys, so might as well just watch them and just live, breathe, sleep, watching these guys do their work. and eventually get there. Copy them, you know. If you can't understand them, just copy them. Copy them is kind of easy. It's a lot easier than embodying them. You just like I remember I learned to play flamenco guitar by just doing by reducing the speed of YouTube videos to 0.25 and just literally copying everything he did. And in a month, I was a flamenco guitarist, but obviously a horrible one because I didn't go into fundamentals and stuff. So yeah, but I still got a feel for what it was like to be a flamenco guitarist. So you can do it. It's just hopefully that helped and gave a bit of hope because it is a massive struggle. Honestly, it's a big struggle. We really make assumptions of the industry here. I've never worked at a studio. I've never been in the jobs ecosystem yet. Everyone in the company is like excelling because I just pull from case studies and documentaries and stuff. Okay? I don't know if this, hopefully this helped. I'll blabber and then hopefully the blabbering helps someone. But okay, I think it's now 12. Cool.